Today's video is about making this dress first shorter, and then longer. As for the material of the hem ruffle, I suggest either the same kind of material that you already have in your dress or skirt. For example, if it's a cotton dress, use same kind of cotton, or if it's a velvet dress, you can use velvet. Or if you can't find the same kind of material in the color that you want, you can use a very thin and flowy, like chiffon kind of material. And let's start with her end. I made this dress about over 2 years ago, and I haven't worn it in over a year because I made it for Punk Lolita. So I made the hem unsymmetrical because I thought it looked cool. And I also made it before I wanted everything to cover my knees, and I'm also wearing see-through stockings so you can better see my knees and evaluate the height or length of the skirt. But I just haven't worn it in a really long time because of the shortness of the front and how long it is in the back. And it's just, otherwise the hem is just badly made. So I decided to fix it because I still love tartan and I would love to be able to wear this. So I'm gonna fix it. I'm gonna start the fixing process from making the hem even. So this is the shortening of the skirt. So you'll need a measuring tape, put the dress or skirt on with the petticoats, because it will seem shorter if you fix it without the petticoats, and then when you put them on, the skirt will be shorter. So make sure you wear your petticoats now. And start from the waist seam. Look from the mirror, how long do you want it to be? And then when you decide on a length, you want to pin it to it and then check again, because this is a process that you want to do thoroughly, because you don't want to end up making it too long or too short, so you have to start over or make it longer. So use time on this. And once you have decided the length that you want to go for, then put the dress and the petticoats on a mannequin, or if you don't have one, put them on a friend, or if you're home alone when the inspiration strikes, lay it on the floor and again measure from the waist seam and go all the way around and mark it and pin it. And once you have pinned the whole skirt, put it on again to make double sure that it is the precise length that you want, and then add some seam allowance around 2 centimeters or how much you want to put, and then cut it. But before you cut anything, make sure it's the perfect length for you, so you don't have to do it again. For me, the process is easy because I want to lengthen it as little as possible. So I'm just gonna go with the pattern on the hem because it's all evened up, so I can just take it from here and cut it along the pattern. I'm gonna go around the hem with an overlocker, and again I'm gonna follow the stripe on the pattern, but you want to follow the markings that you drew. This is how much I cut off from the back and from the front. And once you have cut and hemmed your hem, the next part you want to do is fold it as much as you left seam allowance for, and then sew it. And if you want to add lace, you want to do it now as well, but because I won't, I'm just gonna fold it and sew it. And once you're done with that, the skirt is ready. It really is very simple and easy as long as you spend enough time on correct measurements so that it is straight and the precise length that you want. And here it is, all shortened up. And for the next part I want to make this skirt longer, because even though this is a completely acceptable length in Lolita, some brands even make dresses now that are under 90 centimeters long, they're like 80 something, and those are short. This is again completely acceptable in Lolita, but as for myself, I want it to be longer. So if you have a dress or skirt that you want to make longer, you want to again put the skirt on with all your petticoats and go in front of the mirror. And mine is easy because it changes color every 10 centimeters. But you want to go and look at your mirror and see how much longer you want it from your hem. And I did this, and I actually want mine quite considerably longer. I want to add 15 centimeters to it. So that is what I'm gonna do. I'm actually going to use a scrap piece that I got from another skirt. So one edge of it is hemmed and it has a seam in the middle, and it is pretty much the precise amount that I need, but it is very thin and flowy and slightly see-through. It's a bit like chiffon. So this is my fabric, and to decide how much I need, I'm gonna take my skirt, and again I want to add 15 centimeters from the hem. So I'm gonna put this at 15, but you'll need 1 or 2 centimeters depending on how you do it to the end. I'm gonna clean this up later, but you want seam allowance there. So it will be actually closer, well, let's say 16. I'm gonna leave a centimeter of seam allowance, and I'm not gonna sew it to the edge. I'm gonna sew it in a centimeter, the ruffle to the skirt, and then I'm gonna need a bit, because this is where the seam will be, I need more fabric on top of it, and then again a seam allowance. So I'm gonna need 21 centimeters of fabric for my ruffle. And you want to take at least double the width of your skirt, preferably triple, but at least double so that you have a nice and full ruffle. Or of course you can leave it unruffled and sew it on, but for this project I am gonna ruffle it so it's 2 or 3 times the width of your skirt, and I'm gonna need 21 centimeters. After you've cut all your pieces, you want to sew them together to make one long piece. And after that you want to edge your hems, and you can of course do the usual one fold and sew, but because my fabric is thin enough that this will look pretty, I'm gonna do a double fold so that it looks neat on the outside but also on the inside. So this technique hides all the zigzag and stray yarns and so forth. So what you want to do is first fold once, make a small fold, and then just fold again. Make sure everything is tucked in, and then sew. I recommend a quite short stitch on this one, but it really is easy. You just fold once, fold second time, make sure everything is in, and then sew. And you want to make the stitch as close to this edge as you can, so that it really holds everything in, because if you sew closer to this edge, the second fold may not go all the way to this edge, so you want to sew it here. And it really gets easier with practice, and this is what it will look like on the right side and on the downside. And just go around the whole ruffle either with a single fold or a double fold. Once you're done with that, the next step is to actually ruffle the ruffle piece, and I'm gonna make a separate video on how to hand ruffle, because black thread on black fabric wouldn't be much information, but today I'm just gonna use a very long stitch and a very loose stitch, and that will automatically ruffle it, at least with my machine and with this kind of thin fabric. And where you put the stitch is important, because we're gonna sew over that same stitch when we attach this to the skirt. So you want it around 2 or 3 centimeters from one side and keep it the same distance all the way. And as you can see, it is currently ruffling it a bit too much actually, so I'm gonna adjust it a little bit. And this is a good ruffle, so I'm gonna keep that setting. And keep on going. I apologize, this next bit is a bit hard to see, but now you want to sew your ruffle to your skirt. So put your skirt on the sewing machine and put the ruffle on top of it, and make sure that you sew away from the hem, and try to sew on top of the thread that we used for ruffling, so you don't have two threads going side by side. And if you want to add some lace or decorative ribbon or something like that, you can do it either now or sew it on top of this seam once you have sewn the ruffle on. And just make sure not to sew on top of the ruffles, and then just sew it on. And go little by little. Once you've gone almost all the way around, I unruffled what's left of my ruffle piece, and you want to go on top of the beginning of the ruffle while folding it in, so that you can later sew it by hand or by sewing machine, so that there's no gap in the ruffle. So you just want to ruffle it a bit as you go, and I'm gonna cut it over here because I ended up with a bit too much. There. And now I want to fold it and then ruffle it a bit so that it looks still looks nice. And there you have it. ruffle is done, cut off the threads, and now you want to sew these two together so you don't have a hole in your ruffle. And try to align them. This was not the best cut that I just did, but I'm gonna need to knit out. I'm gonna cut off the excess and the threads. So that now the ruffle is complete. And this is what the finished hem ruffle will look like. And this is the end result. The hem is all even now, and again longer, so that it covers my knees, which is what I wanted. And these techniques are very handy because in Lolita sometimes dresses and skirts can be a bit too long or too short for you, depending on how tall you are and how long skirts you like. But also because there are a lot of off-brand and vintage items that are not Lolita per se, but with small adjustments can be made to work with your own Lolita wardrobe. So I hope you liked this video, and I'll see you again next Wednesday. Bye!